This is admittedly a lengthy story. I mean, it's my dad we're talking about, and I've been alive for 30 years. There's no way I could cover everything that's happened, so I'm going to do my best to create an abridged version. My childhood was difficult. I was born with a neuromuscular disability that affects my entire body, rendering me weaker than able-bodied folk. My parents didn't have much in the way of money, but they made somewhat of a life for the three of us, and 2 years later, my brother joined the family. As I grew up, I became aware of my father's misgivings. He'd do things like buy himself a brand new set of skis and a ski pass, while refusing to spend any money on the rest of us. My mother was scraping and scrimping to get by. Everything we owned was secondhand/old/broken, while my dad had fancy new skis, a bike, whatever. He is irresponsible, disrespectful, manipulative, and he loves to play mind games. A real winner. Over the span of my life, I've watched him belittle, bully, manipulate, and emotionally abuse everyone close to him. He would do things like bursting into my room unannounced while I was naked/changing, and taking photos of me, a good number of which have mysteriously disappeared. He generally refused to let my brother and I spend time with our friends, and as our pediatric doctor put it, he was checked out, totally disinterested in the family. When he did engage, he would often encourage us to push our physical limits, sometimes to the point of serious risk and potential injury, such as taking us on ski runs that were too difficult after we were already exhausted from our adaptive ski lessons, or taking us swimming when we were sick, etc. These things may seem innocuous, but altogether, combined with his constant bullying, he had successfully cultivated an environment of control via fear, like a gotcha machine that absorbs love and spits out sneers. As I grew older, I started to see just how messed up my dad's behavior was. I tried to talk to him about these things on multiple occasions, only to be met with denial. If I addressed a fault of his, he would deflect, derail, and start shit-talking my mom. Now, don't get me wrong, my mom had her own issues, which were certainly not made better in an abusive atmosphere, but I hated talking about her issues to placate my father's weird obsession. I gathered all of my evidence and ruminations, typed up a neat little email explaining precisely why I would not be continuing our relationship, and pressed send. I took care to explain that if he was interested in being a grown-up and actually addressing these issues and working through them, instead of insisting on denial, I'd be happy to engage. There was no reply, and no further attempt at contact. A few years went by, and I found myself married to my best friend/love of my life, going to therapy, working through my issues, and generally recovering from childhood. The absence of my father, all his drama and manipulation, it had a positive effect on me. It would be the unfortunate death of a relative that would bring me back into contact, albeit briefly, with my dad. Once it became apparent I would be in the same room as my father at the funeral, old feelings started to surface, namely anxiety. I discovered through my siblings that while I'd moved forward, making positive changes in my life, my dad and his wife would regularly gossip about me, blaming me for, quote, ruining the family, or some nonsense. Apparently, my father was afraid to talk to me after reading my big bad email. They made me out to be some sort of demonic force when all I did was refuse to conform to an abusive dynamic. We wound up on the phone, and this being our most recent interaction, I can better recall details. I wanted to give him one last shot at redeeming himself, and he effectively shit all over it. I took great care to remain calm and empathetic during the call, asking him what was up with them shit-talking me, if he'd read the email and thought about things at all, as gently as I could. I got the usual: deflection, excuses, self-victimization, the whole bag. I stayed the course and put the conversation back on track every time he deflected. When his usual tricks didn't work, he resorted to staying silent in response to my questions, and then saying, "Hello? Hello? Are you still there?" As though I was supposed to be the one responding to my own question. I shut that down right quick and told him to quit dodging me, and finally, we hit ground zero. You see, a verbal conversation with this man is like a game of Pac-Man. There's all kinds of deflections and distractions and some mean-ass ghosts to be sure. But if you practice and you study, you can clear the level. Well, it turns out clearing that level with my dad led to this. In a dead tone he said, "Your mom is lucky." To which I asked, "How so?" And he explained, "If it weren't for you kids..." Well, don't think I didn't think about burning the house down with her inside. Which is admittedly not a nice thing to say, but that's not even the worst of it. I told him I thought he was psycho, and asked him to refrain from contacting me in the future, thus effectively nailing that coffin shut. When I relayed this information to my mother, she got really quiet. Then she shared the shocking information that there were multiple occasions on which my father had prepared a separate meal for her at dinner, and she had become violently ill shortly after. There were other things too. Times where she'd noticed that someone had been messing about with the gas fixtures in the home and whatnot. Freaky stuff that made her feel like she was really losing her grip on reality to paranoia. Fast forward several years, and I've moved on. I'm living my own life, enjoying my marriage. My father-in-law is easily 10 times the dad my biological father has ever been. My mom has largely recovered from my dad, and is finally healthy and thriving. I am content, and it is a rare occasion on which my dad even crosses my mind momentarily. Despite my mom, brother, and I all being advised by various mental health professionals, friends, and family to cut contact with this man, my brother continues to seek his acknowledgement, which breaks my heart a little. But there's this one little thing left: the stalking. When I was 12, my dad helped me open a checking account to piss my mom off because she didn't think I was ready for a debit card. I still have this account, and my dad's still connected to it. He can't access my money, he can only look. A while back, I looked into removing him from the account, which the bank informed me had to be done on his end, or I can make an appointment and do it in person. I've admittedly been lazy about this. It doesn't bother me all that much, as he can't do anything other than stew on that information. The only times it affects me is when my brother goes to visit him, and every time, without fail, my father will bring up my bank account and discuss my financial practices. I know my dad knows my brother will relay this information to me. My brother isn't the sort of person you disclose confidential information to, if you get my drift. On top of this, I occasionally get a notification from LinkedIn telling me he's viewed my profile. I haven't updated/checked my LinkedIn in years, so that's probably pretty boring. I can only assume he's stalking me across other platforms as well. What a creep. I'm really not sure what he gets out of this. I don't know if I'm supposed to be intimidated or something. But at this point, it's just funny to me. It's a little sad and rather pathetic, like the best he can do as a father is digitally stalking me and poring over my financial statements like he's trying to crack the damn Da Vinci Code. Like, dude, I'm 30 now. I work in the adult entertainment industry. You are literally no different than any of the other weird old guys gooning over me on the internet. But I digress. So, to my biological father, who may or may not be reading this right now, work hard, play hard. I don't care. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I want nothing to do with you, so let's not meet. P.S. To those who may be wondering why I'm so laid back about this, my rationale is that I refuse to give this guy an ounce of power over me. he's too childish to directly contact me. So as far as I'm concerned, he can die ruminating over my latest toilet paper purchase. I'm not saying everyone should take this route. It's just what works for me right now. My father had been dating this girl for a while, and things were going great. She's met us a few times and got along great with my sister and I. Eventually, my father asked her to move in with us. She drove 7 hours to move in and brought her 2 cats. Things were great for the first 2 months, until she couldn't find a job. They had agreed that she was to apply for jobs and have one secured for an interview before she moved in. She moved in on July 2nd. She didn't have a job until late January. I, being fresh out of high school with no job experience in a job setting, was able to get a job before her. This caused my father to have to cover her car payments and insurance. This set us back financially, but we were okay. Then October came with the discovery of a full year's worth of text messages between her and a friend of hers named Jared, all taking place when after my father and her were dating, and all while she was still living in her hometown. These text messages were laced with him coming over and giving her, quote, nighttime love-ins, and inappropriate pictures. My father confronted her about it, and she denied it, saying we just didn't understand her friendships. My father lets it go, as they haven't messaged each other in weeks. Small arguments pop up, and she starts sneaking money out of my dad's wallet at night to go buy cigarettes. This may only sound like a small amount, but it was a nightly occurrence. This set us back financially as well. These arguments mainly consist of her lying about something and not admitting it, or her doing something stupid and not apologizing. Things got worse as Christmas came. My father expressed that he didn't love her anymore. He didn't have any feelings towards her, and that she needed to work to fix the relationship if she wanted to continue. This meant really trying to get a job, and not lying about stupid shit. She agreed that she would. I advised him against giving her the option. I was tired of her shit and wanted her out. She started lying more and more and causing more problems. We believe she started taking some sort of drug, as she would come back from a drive all shaky and spazzing out, spouting nonsense. She came after me and a friend of mine during one of their arguments, to which my father responded, "Pack your shit and get the fuck out. How dare you go after my kids, you bitch." Telling her to get out and leave was a regular occurrence in their fights, but she never took the hint. She was abusive emotionally to everyone in the household, especially my father, reducing him to tears when he found out that she had been receiving $1,000 a month from her mother, which would have had us staying up to date on rent payments. We had no idea what she did with the money. No matter the situation, she would try to twist it so she would be the victim, even calling my father asking second opinions the, quote, party of persecuting Martha. Nothing is ever her fault, and it's always a misunderstanding. Then, she started smoking in the garage. The door from the garage into the house is right across from my bedroom door, which is always open because her cats like sleeping on my bed with me. I have asthma. I woke up coughing and smelling cigarettes multiple times in one night because of her. She's also drove recklessly with my little sister and I in the car before, and I told my father what happened. When my father confronted her on it, she said that I was over-exaggerating, that driving in the dark freaks her out, that my sister and I, in our, quote, it's too early for this, I'm gonna sleep and listen to my earbuds state, were stressing her out. A minor thing, but she's endangered my sister's cats as well as mine. We have 2 strictly indoor cats, and her 2 were outdoor cats until they moved here. Her cats have taught mine how to sneak out of the house when the front door isn't latched. She leaves the front door open constantly when she comes back in from smoking and lets my cats get out. We live right across the street from a huge lot of desert, and we hear the coyotes every night. She's allowed them to get out at night before. After she finally got a job, she didn't want to contribute her fair share of the bills. My father asked her for half of her paychecks every 2 weeks. She claimed that it should only be 25% because there were 4 people in the house. My sister and I are only there on the weekends as we go to school outside of town, about an hour away, and stay with other family during that time. She also apparently wasn't paying her car payments after she got her job, as she got a repossession notice, which she hid from my father. Finally, after financially wrecking us, abusing my father emotionally and financially, endangering myself and my sister, doing drugs, taking money, stealing things from my room, endangering my cats, and many other things, my father gave her 2 weeks to move out. She moved out yesterday, and all I have to say to her is let's not meet again, because I will not be nice like I had to be before. Lots of hate from the daughter of the man you broke.